welcome to the Everything Went Black podcast. Just back from tour. Everything's pretty much back to normal. This week, I'll be hitting the gym again, and life will return to the everyday life that I've used to live before going on the road. And tour was great. Talked about it a little bit last week with Don from Nunslaughter. And this week, welcome back, Ralph Schmidt, one of the Horsemen. Good friend, longtime friend, and every now and then we like to get together, record our conversations for you guys. And Ralph is one of the few people that I can just hit play and record with no notes, and we just go and come up with some cool things to talk about. And it's as if no time has passed since the last time we spoke. And yeah, we get into a lot of interesting stuff. We touch on the travesty True Detective Season 4. In the beginning, when we were optimistic about it, we'd planned on doing a full episode reviewing the season. But things are what they are, and we just cover it as a footnote to this long, epic conversation that we have. Before we get going, I want to urge everyone, if you are not already listening to the other Horsemen of the Podcasting Apocalypse, and you probably should be by now, please do so. Kicking the week off, we have Brandon Legion's Horror Wolf 666. Up next, Jackie Smith's Into the Necrosphere. And of course, this is Everything Went Black, my long-standing live journal of my life. A lot of different stuff has come and gone on this show, and I intend on doing this for a very long time. Next up is Necromaniacs. I return with Jeff Kashid and Mike Scandato. To round out the week, we have Spitball Media featuring Mike's brother, John Draper. You know what we have up on Saturday? A day off. So please enjoy the day. We're coming into spring. Do something fun. But on Sunday, Carl Hikara brings you Soul Knocks for all things dark, esoteric, and macabre. And Carl actually publishes twice a week, Thursday and Sunday. But Sunday was the flagship day for when his podcast was released. Carl and I are full on into the Darkness Weaves project, which is a collaboration that we do every month between both Everything Went Black and Soul Knocks, where we cover the work of Carl Edward Wagner. Lurking in the Shadows, Iblis Manifestations, brought to you by Cheyenne of the great band Trivax. A little while back, I had Cheyenne and Everything Went Black, and it's always great talking to that guy. One of the most fascinating people I know. If you want to support the show, please head over to Patreon, and for as little as $1 a month, you can support the show. Get bonus content, which I promise will be back in action now that I'm home. For $5 a month, you get bonus content plus early access to the regular stream shows. And I also have a $25 a month for any kind of promotion. You want to talk about your band, your podcast, your business, any kind of project. That's more of a sponsorship level for Patreon. And check it out. I love that AI voice that tells you that the recording is in progress. It always makes me laugh.
Yeah, it's like there's this app like I have on my phone that can read texts for you. You know, I used it on some shout outs to the Horsemen, and it's always fantastic. Like making shit sentences and have like an AI voice read it, and yeah, that voice recording in progress. It's always like that.
Dude, it feels like we haven't spoken in like years. So how's things been going?
Oh, it's stressful. Yeah, it's I mean, like the fact that we haven't talked in so long. I mean, the last one was when we spoke about the first episode of True Detective. Like that was the last podcast we did, and that's the last time we spoke. And yeah, then like all the stress here started. You went on tour, and yeah, now finally we have some time to catch up. Yeah, life's been hectic, and I had like another herniated disc, and was afraid of having to get another surgery, but it's better now. But I have to take better care of myself. Been working way too much.
Stress, man, is real. You know, I mean,
Yeah,
I talked about a little bit of my deal over the last several months with work, and
yeah.
Yeah, that's been rectified. It's crazy. Like I haven't had a job affect me to that level as this job that I just left. And for like I was only there for like 5 months, and it's like an old boss of mine, a guy that I have a lot of respect for, who kind of mentored me in the career that I have. Reached out to me over the summer, and he's like, I need you to come work over here, and we're going to offer you this amount of money and all this kind of stuff. And it seemed like a really good deal, but the overall culture of the company and just I hate that people throw that word toxic around a lot, and but in this case, I think it's an apt description of the work environment, like people yelling at each other, and like, someone asks you a question on email, but there'd be like seven people like copied on it for a simple question rather than just go down and talk to you. And just I would spend like 15 hours a week in MS Teams calls. I know that sounds like an exaggeration, but it's not. I would literally have like almost 3 hours of phone calls like every day of the week, and completely unproductive stuff. And I'd wake up in the middle of the night, all like I'd have nightmares about my job. And so yeah, something had to be done. And then just like one morning, someone said the wrong thing to me, man. And I was like, all right, I'm out of here, man. So I contacted my former employer, who I've been working with for many, many years. And I was like, hey, remember when I left and you said the door's always open? Well, I'm calling you. Is the door open still? And of course, they're just like, yeah, the door's open, man. What do you want to do? So I gave them my salary requirements and terms, and got the job back. And I started literally the day we got back from tour. Was that next day was my first day back at my old company, and I haven't looked back since. Everything's been cool.
That's fantastic. I remember when you talked to me about like, oh yeah, I'm getting a new job and I'm excited for it. And then I
Yeah.
remember like listening to an episode, you're like, yeah, this job is complete hell and I need to get out of here. I'm like, oh no. Like because it seemed like everything like in after these bleak years, it really sounded like your life is getting some traction in the right direction and like a lot of good stuff has been happening to you. And I was like, no, why does the job suck now? Like, how did that come about? But like, I'm glad you have your old job back and you're happy there, man. Good for you.
You know, it's interesting, uh, like because it just felt like the last several years have been filled with like so much darkness, you know what I mean, and really hard times and low points. And you know, I feel like I'm making better decisions these days. And when you once you make the first good decision in your life, it feels like the other ones sort of start falling into place. And even though that was a little detour down a dead end street, things couldn't be better right now. You know what I mean? I just, we just came back from tour, started this new job, relationships going great, finally have some happiness in my life, and not running away from it too is like a big thing. Not being afraid to be happy and content has always been like, a struggle for me, and now it's just like kind of embracing that, which is good, and there's a lot of work to do. When I came back from tour, I was like very optimistic about the future, and for everything, the podcast, both podcasts, like friendships, I've like sort of jettisoned a lot of the bad people in my life, kept the good people around, which is important to be wary and mindful of that sort of stuff. The band, like we're working on continuing work on the new album, which I thought would be recorded by now, but like probably going to be recording over the summer for a 2025 release. And just everything seems to be good. Like, you know, um, I got sick right at the end of the tour, so I was like, my ass was kicked for over a week, man. I was like really, really like run down and sick. So I haven't been able to train or anything like that. But I'm healthy enough now, and I'll probably start back at Muay Thai on Monday, and doing my thing over there. Which is like the one final component that has to come back into place again. So that's but yeah, I was beat up last week, man. I was in bad shape. So, it is what it is.
How long were you out? It was a month, right?
No, it wasn't. It was just about 3 weeks, man. It wasn't even a long tour. It was,
Okay.
and it was all on the East Coast and Canada.
Mm,
But it felt like I was gone for a long time, but it really was just barely 3 weeks.
okay. I mean, that's still like a week more than I've ever done. Like I think the max I always like did was like 14 days with Hellstrom. That's like the longest tour I've ever done. And because it's always like in the times that I have off of like back then studying or working. But I've never done like a 3 week run of shows. But I would love to, but like I don't think that Ultha will ever do it, and I don't think that I will ever have a band after that that probably will do it. So yeah, I'm fine that it didn't happen. But like what I saw from pictures and videos, it seemed like you had like a good run of shows and at least like good fun. Yeah. So was it good turnout? Like, were you happy with that tour?
I mean, it was one of the better tours we've done in the last few years.
Cool.
You know, like I said, it was, for us, it wasn't so long. Like the longest I've been gone for 2 months, man. Like we've done like back-to-back tours. We did like the Go to Horror 1349 tour, backed with a or Crowbar,
Mm,
so like, we've like circled the country like twice, like in one run, so that's doing like 3 weeks shouldn't feel like a long time, but it felt like I was gone for a long time, man. And I think that is more of like a testament to how good my home life is, to be honest, man. Like
right. Yeah.
I like in the past, I'm just like, when's the next adventure? Like I would come home from tour and it would just be silence and just alone, being alone, and just
Mm,
being in my apartment by myself after all this adventure, and like, yeah, for a couple of days, it's nice. You do your laundry, you have privacy again, and like you can watch a movie and get some takeout and relax. But then after a few days of being home, I would be like, when do I leave again? When's the next, checking my
yeah.
email to see if there's any more tour offers or anything like that happening. But like this time around, man, the weekend would come, like we would be out on tour and like Saturday would roll around and I'd be like, oh man, like I kind of wish we were, I was with Tina going to the movies or like, going to Costco to buy like groceries or, you know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah,
don't know, man.
sure.
I'm just like in a different sort of trip now than I have been really in a long time or ever really for me. Like I've always
Yeah.
put touring and the band as a major priority in my life. And now it's just a little bit different.
Well, that's good. I mean, it's cool that it is that way. You still have the band, you still can go out but yeah, there needs to be something to come home to, just so it's worthwhile staying at home. And I mean, I completely get you. I remember like these phases with Ultha that we went on tour and like we said goodbyes on the Sunday and everybody like went back to their own life and everybody had their girlfriend at home. And so the only thing I came home to was Audrey, and with Audrey being gone, I'm like, so what am I doing here now? Like, I have to go back to school, and school is like driving me crazy because people get more and more insane. I'm like, I want to go out. Like, pretty much, I was texting the others like, oh, so when's the next rehearsal? Like, I wrote a riff. Let's jam, and everybody was like, dude, calm down. We just returned from tour. I'm like, and I mean, that was the phase when I started Ropes of Night, and that band didn't really like get off the ground. And now with Sur, like at least they're these two people like I'm playing music with now, they're like super into going out. I mean, they live together, they're a couple, and but they have their shit together. And the first mini tour is around the corner, and like I'm excited to go out there. And now, like looking at the year, like the cool shit that we're going to do with Ultha, like flying out to the UK. We have like we will play Partisan, which is like the best open air festival for metal in Germany. And there's like talks of flying to Greece later this year. Then Unholy Passion is coming up. So there's a lot of cool shit with Ultha. We started writing new songs, and but like still like after this weekend we just had, because like last weekend we were on the road with Ahab and played these insane shows where we played like the most crazy show ever in that church last Sunday. Um, I came back home and I'm like, no, dude, like I'm actually feeling okay, Like I'm alone still. There's no cat around and I have to go back to my shit job. But I think I'm in a better place finally. Like the last year has been like a struggle to get in a better mindset. don't take shit too personal. Like get rid of people you don't really need. So like I took like the weed whacker through my contact list and like just like mowed down people. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Like let's not try to keep in contact because there's nothing anyhow. You just get like complaints. Oh yeah, I never hear from you. It's like, yeah, but I never hear from you too. And maybe that's just a testament to that there's not actual friendship here. It's just like if we see each other at a concert, let's talk, have a drink, say like, what's up? Cool. Bye bye. See you later. But like keep around the essential people. And now, for example, this weekend I have time. I have the dog here, just like chill and I mean, yeah, it's like I think as well, like you said, like making better decisions, making more conscious decision towards life, and yeah, I think I'm at the point where I don't hate everything anymore. Like I'm not happy, certainly not, but I'm not as miserable as I was a while back, and I think right now everything is so far is okay. So that's for me, that's a high point.
And being mindful about the people in your life has always been that's something that I've allowed a lot of negativity into my life over the years, and like now I'm just being very very diligent about who is part of my inner circle of people. And even recently I've come into this whole thing of like you know playing shows and people asking to be on the guest list, and I'm like, bro, it's like you can't you're gonna spend like $40 on booze. So what's the big deal of spending like 20 on tickets and stuff like that? And
Yeah.
that's like a thing. Like every now and then, like for example, Ryan Patterson, like when I saw him in Louisville, we finally played in Louisville again on this
Mhm.
tour. Ryan just bought a ticket on his own, and he's like a guy I've known for what 25, just almost pretty much as long as I've known you, and like part of me is just like I offered close people to be on the list. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, obviously there's people that are always going to be on the guest list, but then like to ask someone is like, I think a big ask, especially if you're an adult. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know, man. Like I don't really, I always just buy tickets. Like Cannibal Corpse played last year, and I just bought a ticket. And I texted Eric Rutan, and I was just like, yo, man, I'm going to be at the show. He's like, oh, you need to be on the guest list. I'm like, nah, dude, I bought a ticket. I
Yeah.
don't want to be on you have other people like probably like and I know how it is. They probably have all these like press people and like whatever. I'm like, I'm not gonna take a guest list spot. I have a job. I have like income. I'm gonna, you know, if the show's sold out, I get it, of course, yeah, then I'll try to weasel my way in somehow. But
Yeah,
like,
sure.
we're adult men, you know what I mean? It's like if I didn't know someone in the band, I would pay, and it's just like, I don't know. It's just like that rubs me the wrong way these days.
Yeah, I've been like in the same position. Like when we played some shows with Ultha that like were sold out, and all of a sudden like people that I like knew from the periphery, they're like, "Oh shit, it's sold out, man. I really was hoping to see you." Like, yeah, right, you know. And there were some people in there that I had like closer relationships with, like when we had more contact. And I was like, so yeah, like, oh yeah, I want to come, but I don't have a ticket, and I need one for my boyfriend too. But we'll figure it out. I'm like, you know what? Like, let me just put you on the guest list because like I know that's what you're aiming at, and I just don't bother anymore. It's ridiculous, and like you could be like we're all adults. You could have asked straight away, or you could have just bought a ticket. But then again, like with some people, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I don't care. But then, for example, for Hamburg, like there was this girl, and she's like, yeah, I just came back from the hospital, and Blind told me this story. I'm like, I don't know what to believe right now, but like then like she like I checked her profile, and she's like, oh really? And it's just like, yeah, her and her boyfriend were in a car crash. I'm like, of course I'll set you like I put you on a guest list. Like there's room, so who cares? Let's go. But I just hate this like this attitude of like, yeah, I talked to you when you were in Planks 10 years ago. Hey, what's up? By the way, guest list, yes, no. I'm like, you know what? Fuck off. No.
Just like, no, I guess the takeaway is that I don't got time to fuck around. You know what I mean? It's like if I got how many years I got left on this planet, man. Like I'm gonna do what I gotta do. If you want something, ask. I can say
Yeah.
yes or no. And don't send messages to me if I don't know you through social media, uh,
Yeah.
being like, hi, Mike, and that's it. Like don't do that. If I
Yeah.
know you, you have my mobile number or some kind of like direct line. Don't like I hate that, man. I mean, bro, I we have our thread on Facebook Messenger with the Horseman, and I barely respond, man. Like I want to be like I'll like drop in and be like, oh yeah, that's sick or whatever. But like I'm not even active with you guys. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's like I like I'm not trying to say I'm some important guy or anything, but I just don't like communicating on the internet. I like talking to people I know, friends, and that's it.
Yeah.
If there's any kind of formal thing, let's do it through formal channels. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's the same thing. Like when I remember that, like Brendan, he like texted me and it's like, oh man, long time not letting to talk, and I would really love to have you back on my podcast. I'm like, dude, yes, I miss talking to you guys, but like there's barely any room in my life right now because I'm so busy with school. Like I wrote a theater play and the premiere is next Thursday. So I wrote a 150-page script with all the dialogues and everything. And so this took me forever. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Cool.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm really happy. I mean, it's still like it's a school play, but like it's the first complete treatment I wrote. Like, and it's a vampire story, of course. And I'm really looking forward to like playing, like having like the kid, like the group play it next week. And then after that, there's Easter holiday. And then I was like, like Brandon, you know what? I don't even know what we could talk about right now because I haven't watched any new movies. Like all the old movies have been covered a bunch of times. Um, there's not a lot. Like I pitched an idea of like talking about movies that started great and got like fucked in the end. Like the I call it the Stephen King syndrome. You have like a great movie and it like rolls over and it dies in the last 10 minutes and you're like, oh no. Because like the True Detective thing like kind of rubbed me in
Yeah.
that way. Yeah. Uh, yeah.
Are
So
you can hear me? Okay, cool.
I can hear you, yes.
All right. Um, that's exciting about the play, man.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. Like it was fun. It was super stressful. Like next to a 60-hour job and like playing in two bands, rehearsing, writing new songs, like to sit down in the evening and like think of scenes and like construct a narrative and then like write the dialogues, think about like how the stage setting is. And I mean, like some people were like, yeah, but it's just a school play. It's like, I mean, we will still play in front of 500 people. And it's like they're all like 16 and 17-year-old kids. So it's not like a children's story. And we'll have like effects in there. And so I'm really pumped on like on seeing where this goes next week. And the crazy thing is that last year, like this theater group and we went to see a play in Cologne in like a smaller like actual theater and they were like, "Oh, cool, you're a school class," and yeah, like how do you call them? Like the things in America after school, like the extracurricular activities. That's it.
Yeah, there you
Like
go.
yeah, drama class. And we're like yeah, like a drama class group, and they're like, "Oh, cool," and so you're doing like your own play, and they're like, "Yeah, like drop us a line, maybe we'll come by, and if it's good, you can play in our theater." And they're coming by, so maybe we'll play like an actual crowd in Cologne, and all like the kids are super excited. I'm like, wow, that would be crazy, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, dude, I wrote my first theater play.
Awesome. And the thing is, like you were like, oh, people are like, oh, it's a school play, but the work that you put into writing 150 pages of material is still equal to the effort you would put into anything, man. That's fucking cool, man. That's to write 150 pages of anything is an accomplishment, and I'm so excited for you, man. That's killer.
Yeah, I will send over like video clips.
Oh, dude.
Once we played, and yeah, it's cool. And actually, like it furthered my idea what I want to do with the next Ultha record. because like when now we constructed like some stuff, we have like one finished song and we have like two fragments. And like I said, when you, Jackie and I spoke on the Danzig episode, um I really would love to write like pretty much a music score for a movie that doesn't exist. But now my idea is growing that I just write like a script, a treatment of a story, and we just write like the lyrics for the songs and the music as if it's following the narrative of that play. So I'm bouncing ideas around that, and I want to take like the 2 weeks off I'll have like in 10 days to really like get some ideas flowing, and maybe I can pull that off because I think that it hasn't been done before.
That's awesome, dude. That's so inspiring, man. Really. I mean that when I genuinely mean that. I'm so fucking stoked to hear about this.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. Also, I just want real quick, I want to talk about just like what I said earlier about communication. It's like, look, if you're weird and you just want attention, don't bother contacting me. All right. If you're someone that wants to discuss cool stuff, yes, you can contact me. If it takes me a while to get back to you, so be it. If you're on the Patreon, I always respond to all those guys because I know that everyone's been sort of vetted on that platform and like, you know, they're part of the crew. You know what I'm trying to say? Like I don't
Yeah.
want to come off as like some standoffish like douchebag because that's not true about me really. But I have been getting a lot of very strange um interactions, or not even interactions. I never respond, but like just messaging, and I'm like, if you want to just leave me alone. That's all I have to say about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I totally get that. It's just like it's the same thing. Like I love like when I open up the Instagram page for Ultha, and I'm like, oh, there's new messages, and like you see it's a name you have never heard, and it's like it starts with bro. I'm like, uh-huh. Or dude. I'm like, okay, so someone wants to send me their artwork. And it's always the same kind of shit, but then there's like genuinely nice messages in there. And like sometimes I'm just like I have to put my hand like my face over my eyes because I just can't fathom it. It's like, so when's the next Hamburg show? It's like, dude, we just played there last week.
Yeah,
Oh
that's
fuck.
infuriating.
It's
That's
just like,
infuriating.
yeah, or like, yo, where can I get your merch? It's like, why don't you just like check our page where you are at right now? There's a link that says merch, like stuff
Yeah.
like that. It's like, why are people like that?
That's the kind of thing I'm talking about, where it's like if you got questions and you want to talk and like be interesting, yeah, that's great. Necrophone, if you want to drop out, I love the voicemails on over at Necromaniacs. That's like really cool because like it's intentional, there's like thought that goes into it. Like the other day I got like just a message that just says hi Mike. And I'm like, who the fuck are you? Do I know you from anywhere? Like, how do like it's, I don't know. I don't get that. I don't understand why people would do something like that. It's fucking silly.
So
But
so
whatever.
so the necrophone is still operating and going well.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We get like two a week usually, which is just about right. I mean, I think having two calls every week is great, and sometimes, depending on when we record, because sometimes we might do episodes with only 1 or 2 days between them.
Yeah.
And usually people drop us a line on Thursday after listening to the episode.
Mm.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But if we record on like Friday and then I record on Saturday, obviously there probably won't be any calls between those two recordings. But yeah, man, it's a lot of the same dudes call back. I met a bunch of these people on tour, which was cool.
Mm.
I met Dave Berardi. You know, really cool. Todd, like tons of like I wish I should have wrote these. I shouted these guys out last episode. So yeah, but that's I'm not prepared to do that at this moment. I don't have any notes in
One,
front of
one,
me, but
one, sh one shout out is enough.
yeah. But yeah, dude, it's that was the fun part. That was like the really fun part about the tour, is like, I feel like the podcasts have like reached out to people and and I know how I appear sometimes, you know what I mean? And I think it's cool that people feel okay to come and talk, and say hello.
Mm.
Um, I'm fully aware of maybe the impression I make sometimes in public, but like, at the end of the day, I'm a pretty approachable guy, I think.
But yeah, I mean, I can vouch for that. I've met you.
Yeah.
You're a likable, handsome motherfucker, you know? Like you can like but
But
yeah.
yeah, the tour was good in general. Like I was saying, like, I got sick though, like towards in Canada, and it pretty much like beat my ass for like a week, man. I managed to finish the last few days of the tour, and just the entire last week, week coming home was like just barely enough energy to get through the day, really.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's I think it's also maybe because you're not used to it anymore. Because like when you were in that grind and you toured like twice a year, but now you've been like away from touring for a while and then 3 weeks and yeah, like you're accustomed to the comforts of your home, which is like a home now. And yeah, and then like a flu comes or something and then it like drags you to your ass. Yeah.
I mean, the reason why we weren't on the road that entire year had nothing to do with us, really. It was more
Yeah.
of there was this tour that was with a famous Scandinavian black metal band that I'm not going to shit talk because I hope to play with them again at some point. But there was like a tour that was in the wings that literally this tour had been discussed back in 2020. Okay, and then of course the pandemic happened, and then for like literally almost 2 years, there was this thing of like, okay, this is the lineup. It was supposed to be like a 5 band, like kind of quote unquote festival tour package. And I think we were in one version of the tour package, we were the only American band in the lineup. And that kept getting postponed for one reason or another. And but when you agree to do a tour like that, you have to kind of forego any other you can't really play shows around that because there's these radius clauses and all this other stuff that you have to adhere to.
Yeah.
So it killed that entire year of touring for us, so
Mm.
that's because it kept getting postponed, and like that's you know we dropped off finally, and then the Profanatica Nunslaughter thing came our way, and we decided to do that. And I'm glad we did, man. It was great to meet all those guys, and the Nunslaughter guys are just like the coolest bunch of dudes ever. And like I mean, I had Don on the podcast last week, and
Mm.
totally not what I thought he would be, man. Like I thought Don would be like Gigi Allen or something like that. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh man, we're going on tour Nunslaughter. Those guys probably like eat babies and like do all black magic or something. You know what I mean? And like, but Don was like the coolest guy ever, man. I hit it off like right away and talked about all the bands and movies we loved, and just a very easy guy to talk to. Really cool dude.
That's cool. Yeah, I still like still root for like that Burzum Goat Moon Satanic Warmaster Tombs tour to happen, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, man, that would definitely be a good way to go out. I think, going on
Yeah,
tour at Goat Moon or something like that.
yeah. It's just like, like end the career in the white power movement. It's like a pretty like classy move, you know?
Yeah, no, totally. Because that literally would end my career, like in everything. I would have a very specific audience if I had done something like that.
Yeah, you would play to like packed houses. It would just be completely different houses than you're used to.
Yeah, there would be like these like secret shows where you have to email a guy, and
Yeah.
then Antifa comes and beats everyone up, those types of shows.
Yeah, you would play Kiev for like pretty much like with Absurd and these kind of bands, you know?
What's funny though, I think it was the tour. We were talking about Michele Bertoldini,
Yeah.
um, and the tour that we did with them when he was in the Secret. That was like I had some controversy on it based on some just T-shirts or whatever. But one of the things that I found interesting is we played in Finland on that tour, and there in Germany there was all this like discussion of like fascism and Satan and like all this like people getting turned away at the door because they had like Burzum patches and stuff like that. But then when we went up to Finland, the sound guy had a Burzum shirt on, and
Yeah.
like no one cared. And I remember looking in the green room, we were hanging out, and there was like flyers for like upcoming shows, and there was a festival that was being headlined by Grand Belial's Key at the venue that we were playing.
Yeah.
And we all, I mean, you know, we know who they are. You know, we
Yeah.
know that they have a controversial approach in view.
Yeah.
But it just blows my mind to think that in some environments, it's like not a thing like it is in certain other places, you know.
Yeah. I mean, Germany is very specific about that. I mean, you know all the stories, and I don't have to tell the Inquisition story like a hundredth time, but that show that we played in Rotterdam with Inquisition, like the guys at the door, they were Antifa people, and there were people like walking into the venue with like a goat moon shirt, and they had like a distro called Haydn's Heart, which is like HH, and you can imagine what kind of stuff they sold, you know. And it's like they got kicked out in the end because Woe and Us made some pressure, but like no one cares, you know. It's just like in Germany, it's really strict. And I remember like Jutz Mannheim, where we met each other on that Anodyne show. Um, a few weeks earlier, like we did a show in the basement. I think it was From Ashes Rise, Jafet Kodo, and Annalena from the Czech Republic. And there was a guy coming in just with a Mayhem shirt on. And then people like got crazy and kicked him out because, like, yeah, it's a black metal band, and black metal is per se Nazi. And on the shirt, on the background, this silhouette is Varg Vikernes. I'm like, oh man. Oh God. And I mean, I know like it is that way here in Germany. And I mean, we spoke about it 100 times, but like we still get shows canceled on us because of that Inquisition thing, even though we're probably the most widely known left-wing band when it comes to black metal. But I I I just don't want to bother anymore with that. It's just too dumb.
Yeah, I mean, can Mayhem play in Germany these days?
Of course, man. And the
Yeah,
thing is, like, they're like when we signed with Century Media, they just released a record with Century Media,
right,
and we like they actually wanted us to go out with them, and we're like,
right.
oh man, that would fucking rule. But then, well, yeah, like the booking agency that booked Mayhem wouldn't have us, and so we didn't end up doing it. But like we would have gone out with them. That would have been fantastic. But yeah, well, Germany, you know.
And that's like the hypocritical nature of the whole thing, really. It's like everyone was so up in arms about Mayhem, and then now that they play in front of thousands of people, and it's not a problem. And I don't have a problem with it. I mean, it's you can't listen to Wagner then. You can't like read Norman Mailer because people perceive him as a misogynist or whatever. What I mean? It's like I get it. You don't have to agree with people on their personal views, but the art and the music is like a different animal.
Yeah.
It's a collective of people. It's not like one person's ideas. If some scumbag is in the band, and I mean, believe me, I mean, 90% of the music I like is made by scumbags. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
what are you gonna, that it is what it is. And it's just funny how selectively there's certain things like, even one of my favorite bands, I Hate God, they have, some questionable song titles and lyrics. And, there was like a 7-inch that had a swastika on it, and
Yeah.
no one, but people have no problem with them. They get the pass. And I'm not saying they should be censored or canceled or anything, but that's fine. There's certain bands that are fine. It's okay. And I never understood where the line was, and then people turn around and give Phil Anselmo like a huge ration of shit because of some stupid thing he did.
Yeah. I mean, there's different layers, and you have to like read up on that stuff. And I can understand in some circumstances why people have a problem with it, but still, I mean, it's like musical taste is something different. You know, like I have Poe and Lovecraft tattooed on my arms, and people gave me shit for that because yes, they had problematic views, but you have to see it in the like in the time frame that they were around. And I mean, there's like bands, of course, like I can differentiate between someone wearing a Burzum shirt and one person wearing a Goat Moon shirt. You know, like in the end, it still doesn't say anything about that person. But like Burzum is like culturally important band for that genre that we are into. And Goat Moon is a very specific kind of like right-wing band that you have to be into. And if you wear shirts of Burzum, like you'll probably end up not getting canceled in most venues. But like with Goat Moon, even like the black metal scene, like, there are people that are like, I don't know. But still, like if you want to listen to it, I don't mind, man. It's just like I own a Burzum record, you know, like it's just I have this since I was young because Philosophim was one of the most like influential albums on me when I was younger, and to this day, it's like it's a fantastic record. That guy is a complete idiot, and fun fact, he reposted videos of him like playing his own songs on YouTube where he has like a guitar but no amplifier. It's crazy hilarious. Um, but it's so insane like this there's this Chris Rock like special on Netflix, and I'm not like the huge comic guy, you know, like that I listen to a lot of stand-up, but it's like I wanted to see it because they said he's talking about the Will Smith slap,
Right.
and the special is called Selective Outrage. So it's just like a small portion about the Will Smith thing. But what he's talking about in the beginning is like, you know, R. Kelly. No one listens to R. Kelly anymore. Everybody's like, oh, you cannot listen to R. Kelly, but no one is giving Michael Jackson any shit, you know? And it's like, and that's like where you draw the line. And that's like in so many cases, like, oh, this is okay, but this is not okay.
Yeah, man. It's like, I mean, there's so many layers to the whole Michael Jackson thing, man. And, you know, and he's still the king of pop music though, despite all that, you know,
Yeah.
and no one seems to have a problem with it. And I mean, I have no opinion about it really. I just like, I'm not a, you know, I mean, Michael Jackson was a great artist, you know, but like, yeah, is he a creep? 100%, you know,
Yeah.
and, you know, but like, once again, on, at my gym on Fridays, like you know, there's a very big representation of African Americans at my Muay Thai gym. Like the owner's black, and a lot of the, you know, the main, you know, are people of color there, you know. And so on Fridays is like freestyle night where you do freestyle pads and, you know, train and that sort of thing. And it's like a casual sort of evening on Friday, and like, you know, people play a lot of music, and they would crank Michael Jackson all the time, man. And everyone was like, oh, I fucking love this song, man. And like, no one cares, you know, about like whatever like transgressions he has, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter, you know. And once again, just the selective outrage of everything, you
Yeah.
know. And I just I just think people dial into these things, and everyone has to have like their own kind of, you know, cross to bear, for lack of a better term, or something they do to make themselves virtue signal other people to say that, look how, you know, I'm okay. I'm like, I hit all the boxes of the things that I'm against, and I hit all the boxes for all the things that I'm for. And somewhere along the way, like, appreciation of art gets lost because everyone's wrapped up in like these philosophical, or not even philosophical. It's like a dogmatic reaction to certain things, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing is, and that I think that's probably like that's something maybe that comes with age. It's like at some point you find your own way of dealing with it. And I mean, I've been into black metal since I was 13. And like when I was 15, it was clear that Vark is like a Nazi asshole. And like with 15, I was like a punk and it was like super anti everything. I'm like, what the fuck? Like one of my favorite albums is done by a guy who's like condoning Hitler's actions and shit. I'm like, but then I'm like, oh, I have to sell this shit and I don't want to listen to it anymore. And then, like, as you get older, you're like, you know what? Like, I know if I listen to it at home, I can deal with it. And so, you know, like other people will tell you, no, you cannot listen to it. It's like it's forbidden. Other people say, like, who gives a shit? So everybody does like his or her own way. And I, for me, have a rule like I don't want to like refrain from listening to music because it could be problematic when the nature of the lyrics are not problematic. You know, like I wouldn't listen to like a right-wing black metal band if they would sing about like, yeah, kill all the Jews or whatnot. There's my line that I draw for
Yeah.
myself.
No,
But
totally.
like, you know, like Burzum is like it's like fairy tales. And one of my favorite and most influential black metal tapes is like from a problematic band from the Russian circle, but the music is so inspiring, and also they're not singing about like anything like problematic, but like I for myself don't want to refrain myself from listening to this stuff just because it is done by assholes. I don't want to buy it. I mean, I got that tape of that band as a gift. I'm like, okay, cool. I would never buy it. I wouldn't wear a Burzum shirt. I would love to wear a Death in June shirt, but I don't want to get canceled. And you know, like there's a like boundary like for me for myself, which I did, and I just hope that people can say like, oh, cool, I get you. It's your choice. This is my choice. I know why some people are super offended by it and like cancel it out. Fine, fine with me. But that's a trait. And I mean, we've been talking off recording about like a similar situation. It is, I think the society has lost its way to deal with different opinions, because today it's not about this is my opinion, this is yours, tell me why you have this opinion. Okay, I understand it's not my opinion, but okay, we don't have to be enemies. Right now I feel it's like this is my stance, and if you don't take on my stance, you're my enemy, and I have to destroy you by commenting on the internet about how shitty you are.
Yeah. By leaving nasty comments on the on in the internet. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
It's a weird world we live in right now. And yeah, and you know, people reduce everything to like a binary system, you know, and that's like a real distressing factor in the world because nothing's binary. Everything is like this like gray area of ideas, you know, and
Yeah.
that's really ramped up in the last, you know, probably 10 years, 10 or 15 years. It just everything is like a yes or no. It's not like maybe or sometimes or that's not that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's I think that the pandemic has made everything worse because people were like caged in and had too much time on the internet, and the internet is like the best I don't know, amplifier for this whole shit. You can feed like wrong information. You can easily like get people into trouble. You can like force your opinion on others without being, you know, like a lot of people wouldn't go up to you or me and tell like to my face, like, oh, Ulfa is like a faggot band. You know, people would do that. But you know, like, but they
Yeah.
do it on the internet because they're secure there.
Yeah. It's safe. You're out.
Yeah,
You're like, you know, I can't close the distance on somebody who would confront me if they're like safely in their home, you know.
yeah. And
But yeah.
that's the thing, like when I mean, you know, like you're doing like a horror movie podcast. And what I always loved about like Necromaniacs and also what Brandon does is like there are opinions, you state your opinions, but they're never like condoning anybody else's, you know? Like if you fancy that movie, good for you. If what is it, Malignant, was that shitty movie's name? It's like
Yeah, yeah.
if you're into Malignant, good for you. Like if it's I always say like to kids in school, like if one person likes the band or if one person likes a movie and this person's life is better because of that one movie, even though I hate it, good for them, you know? Like I treasure the movies that people hate, but they make me feel good. And but like on the internet now, it's just like I have to destroy the other people's opinion. The comment section is a fucking war zone, and there are no rules and boundaries anymore. The laughing smiley on Facebook is probably the worst thing they could have installed, but I think it's on purpose. And especially like, you know, like me as a wrestling fan, like the wrestling comment section, especially like the tribalism between AEW and WWE is so ridiculous. Like I get my news from Portal, but I never look into the comment section. And it's the same thing. I mean, I heard like when you spoke briefly about your opinions with Jeff, I think, about like the True Detective thing,
Oh yeah.
that people give you a hard time if you say you don't like it, you're a misogynist. And it's just like, what the fuck is wrong?
Yeah. No, we have to give that a proper discussion too, man. I mean, even though I know that we both ultimately were disappointed by that show, but yeah, for sure. It's like, you know, the internet is the bane of our society, man. Like it's gonna cause the collapse of our culture, if you ask me.
Yeah. And I mean, like what Elon Musk, like when he reopened face like Instagram or X for everybody, including Trump, and now Trump being up in the polls, it's just like it's going to get a hell of a lot worse.
Yeah, well, polls, like, it's interesting, people cite polls all the time,
Yeah,
but you know, as you know, probably from statistics and everything, it's who actually answers the phone. I've never been polled. Who are these people
yeah,
that they're polling? And every poll has, and also the primaries from a couple of years ago. They're all the polls, the red wave, and they got crushed like the Republicans. They barely have a majority in the House of Representatives, and it's depending on who you ask, like who is leading in the polls. At the end of the day, we're going to see in November what actually
yeah,
happened, and then I'm sure there's going to be, the right wing is going to say, oh, it's election interference, like, they cheated. Meanwhile, it's back to the whole fascist authoritarian playbook of what Hitler and Viktor Orban and every fascist has done the same exact thing. They
yeah,
create an enemy. They present themselves as a strong man with the only person who can solve their problems. They blame the other side for the things that they're doing.
yeah,
So of course, oh yeah, Democrats are cheating. Meanwhile, the only people who actually there's proof of them interfering with the election were the Republicans.
yeah,
So there you go. It's like Hitler did that, Mussolini did that, Viktor Orban did that, Giorgio Maloney did that. Everyone did the same exact thing. And that the guy in Brazil, when I forgot that dude's name, you
yeah,
know, that's my fascist watch list that I have. I have to
yeah,
monitor all these people, and I'm
yeah,
like, because you have to look, and it's just like Vladimir Putin, controlling they control the narrative, and
yeah.
of course, you know, denigrating the media. Yeah, I think it's Thomas Jefferson who's like the only thing that matters in a free society is having accurate journalism. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Having a free press. You
Yeah,
know?
and that's the thing. Like when I like, which were like furthers this what we just said, what you just said. Like in school, when kids ask me about like all these situations and where I think the problems come from, is like, take the example of Afghanistan, where like the Americans like pull out. Then the Germans have to go too, because like without the Americans, we don't stand a chance. So the both of them pull out, and like all these people get left behind, and Taliban just crushes their like the Afghanistan army that the Americans and Germans trained within like a month, and they like in control. So now where we're at, we have like a totalitarian Islamic State, which like step by step like really goes back to the Stone Age, where women are like you have to wear like you're pretty much you're a thing that the man owns and all
Yeah,
that
the
stuff.
Sharia law. Yeah.
Yeah, like all that shit. And it's like, and then kids are like, what? But this is not in like what I have a lot of Muslim kids that I teach, and they're like, but Mr. Schmidt, like nothing in the Quran says that it's okay to do that. It's like, yes, it isn't. I read the Quran too, and there's nothing in there. But the people in Afghanistan, there's a lot of people that cannot read. They don't
Yeah.
have the like they don't have the energy or like the means to actually read the book by themselves and make up their own opinion. And you cannot make up your own opinion when you're under a crossfire of some assholes like threatening you. And then like this is this part, and like in the American way or the German way, where we have the same problem with the AfD, which gets stronger and stronger, and with the next election, the chances are that they will be the second strongest party in German after the Christ Democrats, which is like almost a handshake away from the AfD. So it will get worse here too. But it's like people that are lazy and they don't want to do their own education. And that's like where Hitler and Mussolini and all these people like profited from, that people are lazy and they just want to have something to like someone that tells them what to think. And that's so dangerous.
Well, especially these days too. You always get like these like people. I do my own research, and it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, on YouTube, like some
Yeah,
far
yeah.
right like website or some bullshit like that, or like,
On Telegram, Messenger.
Telegram
Yeah.
Messenger, or like, Sean Hannity, or that other clown that's on Twitter. What is his show is only on X or something like that.
Tucker
Um,
Tucker Carlson, these kind of
Tucker
yeah,
Carlson, the bow tie guy. Yeah, him.
yeah,
Um, and all these guys are elites. These guys are all like Harvard educated people. They're not like these like, boot wearing, salt of the earth people, They're part of the problem for these people who are perceived as being, victimized. That's the thing, and of
yeah,
course the narrative is like the common man is victimized. The
yeah,
narrative is that all the East Coast and West Coast cities are these like crime ridden, hellholes. Meanwhile, the places that have the most crime per capita are places like Iowa and Michigan,
mm,
the rural areas. That's take it from me, man. I've visited every shithole town in this country in my life on tour. Those are the places you're likely to get your van broken into and jacked because they're, addicted to pharmaceutical drugs or on
yeah,
meth or something like that. There's a reason why all these true crime shows about, multiple murders happen in towns in the middle of nowhere,
yeah,
because that's where the crime is. It's not, I mean, yeah, there's the appearance of crime in New York City because there's like mad people that live there. There's like tons of people that live there. But like per capita, what's his name? The former Speaker of the House, McCarthy,
mm,
Bakersfield, crime ridden. The
yeah,
highest per capita crime in the country is from Bakersfield. You know, all these like red states, they all talk about, oh, well, we're salt of the earth, whatever. We're running the country. It's like that's the welfare state. Those are the ones who take all the money that's being made in places like New York and LA. It's like it's a fact. You can look it up. It's public knowledge. It's public document. You
yeah,
know.
and that's where the crazy part comes in, and I think that's what happened in the pandemic, that people actually pulled it off to make people believe that the actual factual knowledge in books and media, that they're fake, that
Oh,
people actually spun the narrative, that people start doubting like like for us here in Germany we have like two public TV stations, and like the one is like the news show like every day at 8 a.m. 8 p.m. to like quarter past eight, like that's the news anchor show you should watch. And people like on Telegram spun the narrative that it's corrupted and it's like it's fake media and you have to do your own research. And here's like YouTube shows that have better information. And it's like people were like, oh yeah, I always had my doubts, And like this is so insane.
yeah, it's good to have your doubts, but also it's like, just because someone reinforces the narrative that you want doesn't mean that it's right. Doesn't mean that's
Yeah,
correct information. And
yeah,
we were talking about Sharia law earlier. It's like, there's this huge Christian fundamentalist thing going on, this Christian nationalist thing going on in this country here in the States that's like terrifying to me because, in my opinion, it's equivalent to Sharia law.
yeah.
We're talking about keeping people ignorant, like women's rights, like abortion, like the in vitro, the IV, whatever the fuck the acronym is. You know, like how embryos are human life are humans or I don't know, just crazy shit, man. And there's been some really scary stuff going on as far as like Christian nationalism and how that is like on the rise in this country and has political power. And that's what's going to turn this country into the equivalent of having Sharia law, where no one has any freedom over their own lives. Because it's, who said this country is a Christian country, man? Like, like I'm not a Christian, certainly. You know what I mean? And why do I have to live by some fake ideal that someone has put forth as like these rules to live by? You
Yeah.
know, we have every religion is represented in this country on the face of the planet. So why should everyone have to adhere to some fairy tale told to them by the legend of Jesus Christ or whatever?
And then they're like, especially like the three monotheistic religions, they're responsible for most of the wars. Look at the Far East and
Oh yeah.
like all that shit. And it's so crazy like seeing that right now, that like in school, like I have a lot of Muslim kids. We have a few Jewish kids. They don't dare to say they're Jewish right now. And like 2 weeks ago, there was like a big spray paint on the wall, "Kill all Jews."
Oh
And
man.
then I found out that like in this, I mean, it's like the town that my school is in, it's like a small outskirt, maybe like 20,000 people live there. And they have like two mosques, and the one mosque has like an imam who's like offensively pushing the narrative of like that the Jews are the problem and that Jews have to be eradicated from this earth. And like people like watching this, like the government is watching this mosque, but still kids of my school go there with their family, and they sit in my classroom and they bring statements where like I'm almost falling over backwards because I can't believe the shit that they're saying. So like I had the feeling that it like stuff evolved in the last years and it's gotten better, like the Barack Obama age, I would call it, where like, it looked like, oh, look, America has like a color, like a dark skinned president, and everything changes. But then it's like it's going down and down and further down, and it's just like I think it's in these waves, and right now we're like going down again. And I remember like I did a podcast with our friend Black Metal Endurance Punk about
Oh yeah.
like about my records of the year, and like my last year's record of the year was the new Depeche Mode record, and then we spoke about like how much I love it and how emotional it is because of the death of Fletcher. But then like the record before that to me, Spirit, is way better, and Spirit is like a super political record. And like the recent months, I'm coming back to the first track on that record. It's called Backwards. And it's like we're not there yet. We have not evolved. We have no respect. We have lost control. We're going backwards, ignoring the realities, going backwards and counting all the casualties. That's kind of like how the world is like evolving right now. We're going totally back to like a stone age, in my opinion.
Oh no, totally, dude. And I mean, there's like this whole thing here in the States about like trad wives, like traditional wives, like the
Yeah,
Republicans, the right wing, like to promote some past that didn't even really exist, or a past that was not favorable to women
yeah,
having autonomy, and it's like, yeah, if you want to go back, what, 60 years, 70 years at this point, like, you know, like I just don't understand this fantasy of a traditional world that people in this society are looking to as being favorable over to what where we live right now. You know what I mean? I just don't see it. I just think it's like, I don't know, like brain damage or something,
yeah.
or cultish behavior, or believing that what someone's telling you is true over your own sensibilities.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's like the most people that fall for that are people that haven't evolved and they don't want to. And they're like everything in the end, I think everything always comes down to two things, and that's fear and it's money. And money, like fear creates money, and there's a lot of people making a ton of money from all the conflicts we have right now. And so like these people that like want to go back to the glory days, they are the ones that are like, oh yeah, back then there was no transgender, back then there was no vegan food. These are all the enemies to my reality. It's like, what, these are your problems, really?
Yeah, and that's the thing, it's like, like in early 20th century Germany, Hitler used the Jews as the scapegoat, as the other, the Jews and like the Roma people, Romani, and
Yeah,
gay people, you know,
yeah,
as like the other. Now, uh, you know, der Fuhrer here in the United States, der Fuhrer Donald Trump is like Mexican people and transgenders are the other. They're threatening our society. The Mexicans are going to are invading our country, you know, setting up this whole narrative of an other so that I have all the answer to your problems. I'm going to kill the woke movement. We're going to build a wall. Next thing is going to be, we're going to invade, Mexico, like, it's like that repeat of history over and over again, and people's ignorance or inability to look back in the past and be like, yeah, this happened so many times in different countries, you know? And I know like the right wing is like, oh, well, what about your guy, blah, blah, blah. That's not an argument. You can't argue the point by saying the other guy is too old or whatever, you know? Like you
Yeah.
can't, that doesn't validate the things I'm saying. That doesn't validate, well, it doesn't validate your argument against the things I'm saying by pointing the finger at the other guy, because that doesn't mean that all this other stuff doesn't exist. I mean, yeah, Joe
Yeah.
Biden, of course, I have problems with him, you know, but like, what's the alternative? Yeah, the
Yeah.
alternative is a not even a Christian himself, probably a guy who doesn't know the first thing about any religion, but uses that as a way of manipulating people. You know, the world in this country on the other side is a Christian nationalist country led by an authoritarian, a fascist, with his cronies. And that's the complete erosion of democracy, you know, and freedom, you know. And it's just like I don't get the argument of like, oh, what about the other guy? Yeah, the other guy's got his problems, but at least he's trying to maintain the country in a, you
Yeah.
know, in a way. And oh yeah, and the Afghanistan thing, that whole movement started in Trump's regime. That wasn't
Yeah.
like a Joe Biden thing. That was like it happened on Joe Biden's watch. But
Yeah.
Trump was getting ready to pull troops out of Afghanistan too. That's something that everyone wanted, and the guy who did it was going to get crucified for doing it.
Yeah. And
You
it's
know?
like this the same thing with the Supreme Court there where Trump placed his like his cronies. And I mean look at it now, like like, oh, I'm like I can now postpone all these trials and put him to the Supreme Court because there's my people, and then
Yep.
they will rule in my favor. I mean, that's the thing, like the scary thing that I mean, he looks so stupid and so dumb, but like he has some I think so. Maybe he's a genius and we just don't know it, or maybe he has people. Um, but like he placed all his figures on the chessboard in the correct way to actually pull off what he's about to pull off, what I think.
Yeah, nah, totally. And like, you know, maybe someone will assassinate this guy or whatever, you know what I mean? Or like, I
Yeah,
don't know, maybe his plane will crash or whatever, you know. That's the
yeah.
only thing I'm hoping for.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Like, I don't know, this seeing, it's like when I played football, when you see a blitz coming and it's just like it is that right now. And like when kids in school again, they ask me like, what's your opinion? It's like I feel that I see all the shit about to hit the fan, and I can see it in slow motion, like in a nightmare and sleep paralysis. You can see it moving towards you, but you cannot move and you cannot stop it. And that's kind of like the feeling that I have, like with the AfD, with Donald Trump, with all the countries that have like chosen to have right-wing leaders in my neighborhood, like Italians and the French people have like a right-wing party that is super strong. The Dutch have like a right-wing populist asshole, and it's just like, so why the fuck, like, why don't you see that? Like, don't why can't people see the bigger picture of what's about to happen? Yeah,
Yeah, well, the one saving grace though too is that you know, the down ticket stuff coming up in November. Like right now, the Republicans have like the slimmest of majorities in the House of
mm,
Republicans. You know what I mean? And the Democrats have the Senate. So if you had a Republican president and it's Democratic Senate and House of Republicans, most likely nothing's ever going to get done, really. You know what I mean?
mm.
You know, and I know there's like these executive orders and things like that can be written, but there's even a limit to that. So I don't know, man. We'll see. You know, like I said,
Yeah.
maybe he'll be a lone gunman. He'll take him out, which is like pretty awesome, I think.
Yeah, eventually, like Tina and you have to move like over to Europe, and we all like charter an island and make our own narrative, our own state. Horse mania, we can call it.
Um, yeah, man. I don't know. So with True Detective, man, I actually last night we went back and watched most of the first season again in
Mhm.
response to the poor quality of season four.
Mm.
Did you liked it in the beginning, I think.
The fourth one?
Fourth one,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you were
First,
kind of like I remember you had a favorable opinion about the fourth season.
the first episode, except for the shitty CGI in the beginning with the deer like jumping to their death, which looked terrible. And I'm not like a fan of Billie Eilish, but like they set up something that it could have gone in a great way. Well, except for like, I mean, yes, the two main characters are pretty much a bit too on the nose, but they like, these hints towards the thing, and you already could tell like, oh, like they're talking about Rust Cole's father. And I'm like, okay, so they're actually like now they understood what the fans want, and they're doing something against the semi-supernatural. They set it up like there's a connection with the spiral to the first season. I mean, that's what they teased in the trailer. So like my hopes were up. And in the first episode, I'm like, okay, I'm all game. The second one, I was already like, but then the cliffhanger ending was great. But ever after everything after that was just like, oh man, they're ruining it. And that's the thing why I had this idea of like doing this episode with Brandon about stuff that in the beginning looks great, but then has the Stephen King effect that it all goes to shit in the end. Like, oh, there's a clown. It's super creepy. This whole story is great. Oh, wait, it's just a big spider you can kill with earrings. Damn. And that's kind of the feeling I have with this show, like with the fourth season.
Yeah, dude, I wanted so badly for it to be good. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I'm not. I saw Tigers Are Not Afraid by Issa Lopez, and I thought that was decent. It was in her native language, which I think might have something to do with some of the poor dialogue, really.
Hmm.
Um, the setting was great, like the title, Night Country was amazing to
Yeah.
me. It was like it made me think of like William Hope Hodgson or something, the Nightland or whatever. And like I was like, wow, okay, cool. Like the atmosphere was great, but right quick, man, the character studies were just not
Terrible.
they're real bad. And like,
Yeah.
I said this on Necromaniacs about how Issa Lopez had the opportunity to tell a compelling, weird tale, but
Yeah.
instead she decided to, like virtue signal everyone and, create a completely hired trope of societal and cultural underdogs and portraying an idea of strong women as basically female toxic males. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the worst part about it was like the very first episode when with Navarro, I think's the character.
Hmm.
There's a call for an assault at that factory, right?
Yeah.
And the guy got beat up by or hit in the head with like a pail or something like that by a woman, right? You know, I'm sure the guy had it coming to him, seemed like a real piece of shit. However, the cop attacks the guy who's the victim
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
no repercussions. And then she just harasses the guy over the next like several episodes. And I'm like that's like kind of I thought problematic, and not really there was never any repercussions for stepping outside of the boundaries of of what a police officer should conduct himself. And then just everything was just strung together. There was only 5 episodes, and the story, I feel like the wrap up was just like someone who ran out of ideas and
Yes.
just wanted to create like some ending. Okay, cool. They all killed her, and these house cleaners or the cleaning people were like, this is how they got their revenge. They righted the wrong by murdering these people who murdered the woman. And I was just like, how unimaginative and just
Yeah.
ordinary and simple. You know what I mean? And it just, I know like more people watch this than any other season, and there's a green light for a fifth season.
Yeah.
But what a complete waste of an opportunity.
Yes. That's the thing, like it is right there. Like I think they like when you have Legos and you have like all the cool blocks and you have all the cool stuff and you like build a basement and it's like, oh, that looks cool. And then you completely ruin the whole building because you're just too dumb. And that's kind of like it's the same thing with wrestling. Like sometimes I wish I was able to book the storylines because it's right there. You have the characters, you have the setting. Why don't you pull the trigger and go all out and do it? In this case, when they found like the victims in the ice, like the statuette, this almost like the thing kind of statuette of
Yeah.
these frozen guys. I'm like, no way in hell is it able that they can do it like with a physical explanation that is just to do that. And then the whole 4 episodes were about like, but yeah, it could have been a snowstorm. Yeah, it could have been this, or maybe I don't know. Like they drank ice water and then they pissed themselves and froze. I don't know. Like stupid ideas. I'm like, yeah, they're not going for that. Like this time it has to be something supernatural. That you have like these Inuit people or like the Aboriginal people there with the tattoos, and you have like these people living on the outside of town. Maybe there's some folklore, like like some demon or some god. You have the ice caves. It's all right there, but in the end, it's just like, oh yeah, they killed this woman because she saw something that there's like she's not supposed to see, and then they collected all these guys and drove them out in the ice, and it's so dumb, it's so lazy, and they could have done something really cool with it.
And the thing is about like exploring different cultures and everything, which is great, but she didn't do anything. Like, okay, cool. There's a native culture here. You don't learn anything about the native culture.
No, they're
They
just
don't go into
protesting
any.
against the factory. That's the only thing. Is like, yeah, I can understand you're destroying their home country, but like, who are these people? Like, what's with the tattoos and everything? There's a story that I want to hear, you know?
And that's the thing where it fails. And the five episodes, they should have moved the story quicker. They spent so much time on all this like bullshit, like character development that was unnecessary, like the drama with the daughter and her porno video she made and all this like ridiculous stuff that went nowhere and had no value in the story.
Yeah.
um a proper writer would have been able to tell that story just within minutes, really, without spending all the time they spent on it to go really nowhere. I guess the whole setup was like maybe her Caucasian underage girlfriend abandoning her when things got real in that protest. But the exposition that was behind all that was completely unnecessary. You know,
Yeah.
the
It's
only interesting character was that was Peter. I thought the young policeman who killed his father.
yeah.
Yeah, and even he wasn't that interesting, really. You know what I
No,
mean? But
right. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like if you want to write a story or want to produce a TV show where there's no person you can root for. Like with Marty and like in the first episode, you had like with the two protagonists, you had like two people that weren't really likable, but you could relate. And
yeah,
like they were captivating and they were really well thought out. And here there's no one I was rooting for. Like the father was an asshole. Like all the ladies were assholes. Like I don't care about them. And if you have like something, you can like they pulled it off with Succession for 4 seasons, where there's not one person you root for, but they're
yeah,
all so well written out that it's captivating in the end, and you want to see all of them fail. But here it was just like, why don't you just all go out on the ice and die? And
oh
then
yeah,
it's like, then there's this woman, she has like these visions of Rust Cole's father, and it's just like, yeah, I bet like they decided 3 days before shooting this episode that it's Rust Cole's father. Like it was just like she can see ghosts, blah. It's like, oh wait, we're in Alaska. Oh, we could put in the swirl, and oh yeah, Rust Cole's father. The fans will eat that up. It's like I'm sure that the diehards, like you and I, for the first season, they will all be like, no, dude, that's like complete horse shit.
yeah. And essentially, Jodie Foster's and Callie Reese's characters were exactly the same, really. I mean, there was
Yeah.
no real difference between the two. Russ Cole and Marty are different, but I don't know, they were just so much better developed characters,
Yeah.
and it's funny, there's a video out there that puts some side by side stuff with the first and the fourth season and
Mm.
kind of contrasting like just the quality of the two, even down to the dialogue,
Yeah.
and the dialogue in and of itself, if you read the dialogue from the first season, you can create your own story. You can visualize everything. The dialogue is so descriptive and well written and lyrical in some ways. But the dialogue in season 4 was just like simple and
Yeah.
basic, just so lame, man, and tired and unimaginative. you know. And I know, like, there's, obviously my disdain for the fourth season. Obviously, I'm a misogynist now.
Of course
Obviously.
you, yeah,
But it's just like I wanted it to be good, man. I wanted to see a show with strong female leads, but I didn't get that, and it was
yeah,
so poorly written that it was like, you know, there's no possible way I could have got behind this thing. And I hate that she's doing another season because everyone
yeah,
watched this,
yeah. Yeah, that's I don't get that as well. Like either they should have first off they should have continued just like doing stories in the same universe, like a bit of like mysticism in there. They could have like I think with the Milk Bowl episode of season two, I'm like, oh, this is taking a David Lynchian kind of turn, but then it goes nowhere. But the season in itself is great. If you can say like, okay, this is just like Fargo or I don't know, American Horror Story. These are like it has one name, but it's like different branches of a story. What they did with Halloween 1 and 2 and then Halloween 3, which is fine. Like if it's just like a great cop or detective show with like the kind of the same premise, that's fine. But with this one, they triggered the hell out of like the fans that like this will have a connection to the first one. It's called Night Country. It's playing in complete darkness. We have all these like cliffhanger, like these small, no, no, not cliffhangers, but like cameo things like the Thing DVD playing and all that stuff. I'm like, it has to lead somewhere. Then you have the ice caves, like it writes itself. Why don't you pull the trigger on that and give the people what they actually want?
I mean, instead of, well, the one thing too is the script was not intended to be a true detective um, story.
Oh yeah.
She had something that was written, and then she just molded it because the producers at HBO are like, oh, we're into this, but make it a true detective season. And then she doctored it up to fit the narrative but not a very well job, but so yeah, so there's that's going against it too. But then like the nuggets that they put in there, like they're just tropes. They just were like there's a point in one of the episodes where that one dude is like, time is a flat circle, without ever really
Yeah.
you have no understanding what he even means by that, and
Yeah.
season one, the philosophy, the pessimistic philosophy, the whole, just narrative of that pessimism and cosmic, you know, cynicism that was portrayed in the first season. That's what you need in the fourth season. There had to be some kind of like statement about that to make it, to really connect it the way that they were trying to. You can't just say, okay, here's a spiral.
Yeah.
We got Russ Cold's dad, we got time as a flat circle, but total corporation, without connecting those dots somehow and
Yeah.
drawing up some kind of philosophy or some sort of underlying overarching storyline that make that fit. And
Yeah.
that was another ultimate failure in the whole thing.
And that's the thing, like, why would you put that in there when the like complete consensus among fans is pretty much that the first season is untouchable, and now you put in all that stuff, but yeah, like you said, you don't pull the trigger on it and you don't follow up on it. It's like, why put it in there anyhow? You could have done it without all the remarks, then it would have still be like a lazy season. But like now everybody waited for it, like Rust to appear or something, because all of a sudden there were these rumors. Yeah, in one episode we will see Rust Cole, and that would have been, like if it would be that story with Rust's dad, and imagine all of a sudden like Rust, like the guy coming in, with like a Parker that is like coming through the snow, and then like a cliffhanger in the end of the episode, he takes down his hood and it's Rust Cole. Like people would have gone ape shit for that and talk, and like the ratings would have exploded for the next week. But it was just like in the end of an episode, I'm like, really? This is supposed to make me interested in next week's episode? I'm not there.
Yeah, but can you imagine like if they had written Rust Cole, like she doesn't have the
Yeah.
power, the power of dialogue to write him correctly.
Yeah, of course. I mean, not in that setting, but that's what I mean, Like imagine they would have like, okay, here, like Mike, Ralph, here's the setting. Here's a basic storyline, what we want to do. they will find these things, and we have an ice cave. So do we operate this? And we want to have it connected to the first season. Dude, it wouldn't have taken us like a day to write a script or ideas on how to connect it, making it sense. Of course, you would need someone to write out all the dialogue and shit, but like the general idea is right there. It would have been so fucking easy.
Yeah, pretty much, man.
Yeah.
So, you know,
So
obviously we're misogynists, so we don't like it, but you know, it's
course.
really, you know, I'm not looking forward to the next one. So let's put it that way. Yeah.
How many points on the Necro score?
Oh, like a 0 probably. This is
Yeah.
along the line of dash cam, if you ask me.
Yeah, it's not as bad as Green Knight, but I'm there with a 0. Yeah.
Yeah. Green Knight was terrible too, by the way.
-3.
Yeah. But anyway, dude, it was great catching up. I have to
Yes.
we're playing the New Jersey Death Fest later today.
Oh,
So I have
nice.
to
Sweet.
start getting my act together here.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, then
But,
it was good talking, and we'll have to do it more often now again.
oh yeah. Nah, totally, dude. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll talk to you next week. Take care. Take care, Ralph.
All right, bye, man. Have a good day.
Another time, when Lord Jesus was coming home in the evening with Joseph, he met a boy who ran so hard against him that he threw him down. To whom the Lord Jesus said, "As thou hast thrown me down, so shalt thou fall, nor ever rise." At that moment the boy fell down and died. Jesus. To be funny.